Hello, guys. It's Monday, November the 11th. Happy Veterans Day. Thanks for joining me for this not probably as entertaining as I once thought video. I'm going to talk about Chapter 7 and basically just cover some things so that we have a jump on it in class. Chapter 7 is about PR, publicity, and advertising. And so I'm just going to go over those three concepts along with the tools used to get the word out in advertising. Some more stuff about publicity and PR as a function of your entire marketing plan and how important it is to use PR. Something I'd like for you to note, I'm jumping a little bit ahead, as an advertising tool or an advertising outlet, we know that the web is a huge place for advertising these days. And one stat is that video is actually 60 times more likely to be clicked than any text ad. And also what we know about video is the message needs to be short, concise, and to the point. So with that said, I am going to make this video as concise and full of information as I can in order to keep your attention. So we'll kind of test this theory. I actually just watched an 18-minute video for one of my continuing education classes, and I frankly was baffled at the length. So I am going to do my best to make this sweet and very short. So let's get started. What is advertising? Well, advertising is actually the way that we get the word out about a product or a service or a concept. So it's the medium in which the message is shared with the world. It is for branding purposes, and we've already talked about branding, but basically branding is how people recognize your company in the marketplace. So like Marriott, we talked about this earlier this semester. People, their first thought was that Marriott was red. Before they talked about Marriott's service or anything like that, the brand is red. So it's that sort of concept of Target's brand. Everyone knows Target's brand is red, and it's also a bullseye. So they have put messaging out into the marketplace that has now impressed their brands upon our brains. So basically, I want to talk to you about what advertising tools or outlets that we use to get the word out, and some of the ones that I find to be most effective. Basically, we know we have print advertising, and that encompasses newspapers and paper newsletters and magazines. The book, as we have already discussed, is a little bit dated, which is kind of crazy that in 5 years it is so different of a perspective. But newspaper advertising is not the way of the world. I mean, if you're advertising in the New York Times, that's one thing, but advertising in a print newspaper in the the Coloradoan, and you're trying to reach a target audience of 20-somethings, and you want them to go to Brewfest or come to an event at Odell Brewery, you are simply not going to use a newspaper to advertise what you're doing. Now, what you will do is call the newspaper and pitch them a story, and that is PR. That's public relations. That is getting publicity for your cause by having someone write about that. Now, online advertising in a newspaper is a very different mechanism, and it's much more effective because most people from your age, probably a little bit older than me, are looking at news online. And there is a certain demographic that is still reading the newspaper. My dad still reads the New York Times on the weekends, or I think, and he's in his 60s, so there's like a certain demographic who's still reading the paper. I still like paper, but I'm not getting it all the time, and frankly, I don't want to read the newspaper. I think it's depressing. That's side note. So our newspaper outlet marketing, advertising, is simply not what it used to be. And newspapers, unfortunately, are dying and being bought up by a lot of big companies. And I can go into that at further detail, but I will skip to magazines. Our local magazines are actually doing really well from a marketing perspective. If you want to reach a certain audience, locally or nationally, people are still reading magazines. They're buying the actual paper, and they're reading the magazines online. So there's a great way to reach out and touch someone, especially in the hospitality industry. If I were a hotel, I think that advertising in a magazine is a really great place to gain awareness. Now, the thing about advertising in a magazine is it can become very expensive, and you're going to want to reach out and touch your market at least 6 times. So if you think that your budget will only allow for you to market or to advertise 1 time in a magazine, I'd say save your money and use it for something else where you're going to have more frequency. And frequency means the amount of times that you're going to be able to reach your audience. So you want to get the most for your money, and you want people to see your marketing as many times as possible within your budget. That is very important. The next thing we have is broadcast, which is TV and radio. And, I don't find TV advertising to be extremely effective. I have a DVR. I fast forward commercials. If you're a huge organization like a Target or like someone who's making, FC Johnson Wax, who's making household products, and you have money to spend, I'm sure there's still something quite subliminal about people seeing your ads. But here again, you have to have huge budgets, and you have to get creative. So for example, when I used to watch Mad Men and they would have commercials, the commercials would basically be an extension of the TV show. And like the Dove soap commercial was set in like the 1950s or 60s in black and white and really played to the content on the show. So those are creative ways. But here again, you have to have a huge budget. And if you're a hotel, frankly, I think that online marketing is the way of the world, since most people are booking their travel online these days. Radio ads can be effective. I think they're really good for short campaigns where you are driving traffic to an event or driving traffic to a website. You have to have a specific reason for doing anything in marketing. And so with radio, I think it's like promote New West Fest or promote that you're having a sale at your car dealership, because people are still listening to the radio quite frequently, and I guess they listen to commercials. I tend to turn off my radio when I hear one, but I think that's just the nature of being a marketer. So radio advertising could be effective. You say your hotel is running a special for the weekend for $99, and you know that your demographic of 20 to 30-year-olds is listening to 96.1. You're going to blast those people for 2 weeks prior, and then really blast it the day of, so that you drive people to your hotel. So I think radio advertising actually could be effective, depending on how you get your message out. The next thing we're going to talk about is online. Online marketing is huge, and you see online marketing everywhere. You'll see them in banner ads, which are like across the top of your screen, on the side of your screen, down at the bottom, over here. People use banner ads to gain awareness. So for branding, to get you to do something like sign up for my newsletter, or get 25% off, or go to my website and shop. Online marketing, though kind of annoying, is a really great thing to do because it's trackable. You can see who is clicking and how far they're clicking and when they're clicking and what they're looking for, and you can profile your customers based upon how they're clicking into your ads or not clicking into your ads. With print marketing, you tend not to know how effective your marketing is because you have no idea who's looking at the newspaper unless you do like a tracking code and you're driving people to a website and you're getting their information that way, there is not a lot you can do. If you're going to do marketing of any kind, you need to make sure it's trackable. And one of our dear friends in class keeps making this point very clear with email marketing. Why are you not tracking what you're doing? It's like throwing money up in the air and watching it burn and having no clue like what's happening. There's no reason to do that. Time and money are way too valuable, especially in this industry. So more online marketing. You'll have, like if you look on Google or Bing or what have you, you have text ads on the side that you can click into. You also have content marketing where people are actually making it look like it's public relations and they're writing about your product or service, but you're actually getting paid for the content that you're writing. There's videos online. Go to any website. Say you're looking for a recipe. Potentially a company a company I used to work for, they sell baking ingredients. I told them to buy ad space on food.com, and I think they're now doing it 2 years later, but they're putting a video on food.com so that they can drive traffic to their website and get more customers. They're trying to build their brand. And so you will see online advertising on every website. I know Facebook does ads, Twitter does ads, but the thing about online marketing is that you have to be in the right place, talking to the right audience, really understanding who your audience is. Because if you don't know what your audience wants and what they need, then you're throwing your money up in the air and watching it burn. Now, this analogy of throwing something in the air and it burning, I know it doesn't really make sense, but I think you might get the point. Actually, a better thing to say would be throwing it up in the air and watching it fly away. So, sorry, I've had to correct myself there. Anyway, I'm going to try to make this, seriously, 2 more minutes, because I know it's getting long. We also have outdoor advertising, which is billboards, display banners. Billboards are awesome because I think they're really attention grabbing. They can be expensive. And here again, you need to have a frequency of more than one time or more than 1 month because you want to hit people with the messaging over and over and over again. It is said that people need to see your message at least 7 times to even notice you. And people are getting over 20 million advertising messages a year. So your message needs to be so powerful and so strong and so frequent to even gain awareness. We're not even talking about gaining a customer because there's so much noise in the market space. So our next item is collateral, and collateral would be like a brochure or a flyer, a table, tent, something like that. And likely we'll be making some collateral or suggesting some collateral development for our project with the Student Center. And then finally you have direct mail. I think everyone knows what that is. Postcards and packets of coupons. I think it is effective for some businesses. I think it also depends on your demographic. But if you have a captive target audience and you send something to their home, likely they're going to open it because they already have a relationship with you. Advertising, just like marketing, advertising is a facet of marketing. Advertising is all about building a relationship with your audience, really understanding who they are and what they need and what they actually want from you so you can deliver that to them. Advertising is about relationships. I am going to end here, and we can recap this in class on Wednesday. There's potentially discussion questions with this. I cannot remember. And we will cover what makes a good ad in class, and then talk about the overall marketing plan. But I really wanted to cover what our options were for marketing to our audience for the Student Life event so that we were a step ahead. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. Hope you're doing great. Peace out.